Hello and welcome to a special discussion on the election outcome in Nagaland, Tripura and Meghalaya for the Wire.in. What impact and what influence will this have on the broader canvas of Indian politics? That's the key issue we shall discuss today, and my guests are the Deputy Editor of the Wire.in, Sangeeta, Barooah, Pisharoty, as well as the Director for the Centre for Study of Developing Societies, Sanjay Kumar. Sangeeta, let's start with the broader implications of the northeastern election results before we come to state-specific ones. The BJP has been traditionally perceived as a Hindi heartland party, but now, when it's in power in 6 states in the northeast and only Mizoram and Sikkim are outside its grasp, how significant a change in the image of the BJP does this represent?
See, I would refer to what the Prime Minister Narendra Modi said in an election rally in Meghalaya. He said, we, meaning BJP, don't do politics of religion, caste, which I feel that for the first time, the Prime Minister has made it very clear to the northeastern people that what BJP stands for. So I think it is that change of image that it wants to go to that region.
But is this a very significant change for the BJP? Because as far as the rest of India is concerned, we were convinced they were limited to Hindi heartland areas and to Hindu populations. Suddenly they've broken out of the Hindi heartland and Christian majority states have embraced them. So for the rest of us, is this a significant change in the way the BJP is perceived?
Certainly, because you see, I mean, for the first time in Nagaland and Meghalaya, this time the poll planks have been religious intolerance. You know, I mean, like the party was being looked at as religiously intolerant, being a very Hindu party. I would not say Hindi heartland, but Hindu party. So, it had to fight that battle, you know, and then who's better than the Prime Minister is their main campaign mascot. So he's gone and done that.
And his word that we are not determined by caste, by region, by religion has been believed and accepted.
No, it may not be, but what I mean to say, or it may not be they may not have changed it, you know, the core ideas may not have changed, but it's actually keeping winning the elections in mind.
Sanjay Kumar, after the Gujarat state elections and perhaps more importantly after the Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh by-elections, and then in the wake of the Nirav Modi scandal, there was a widespread perception that disenchantment was setting in with the BJP. Do the results from these 3 northeastern states disprove that, or at least suggest that disenchantment was exaggerated? Or do the northeastern states have good reason to view the BJP differently to the rest of India?
Oh, there are many questions in this question. First, was disenchantment exaggerated? I think it was a little bit of exaggeration. We should not actually try to get the broad picture of the state or the nation by looking at the results of the 1 or 2 by-polls. We had 2-3 by-polls in Rajasthan, couple of by-polls in Rajasthan. Yes, BJP suffered defeat, but we should remember that most of these seats were actually held by Congress earlier as well.
So the first point you're making is that the disenchantment I referred to was an exaggerated feeling.
Yes, it was an exaggerated feeling, but not to say that disenchantment has not creeped in. Yes, it has creeped in. This is not from top of my mind. We actually did a survey in the month of January and we found out that people started becoming slightly unhappy with the work of the government, especially the farmers, youths and the Dalits, and this we got a sense from most Hindi heartland state. I think what is happening is that wherever BJP has been in power for some time now, 10-15 years, or in the states where they have done very well in the Lok Sabha elections, people did not find expectations, the kind of expectations they had, that the government is trying to fulfill those expectations. So there was a gap between them.
You're saying an interesting thing. Where the BJP has been in power for 4-5 years, a certain measure of disenchantment has crept in because the BJP hasn't fulfilled the expectations it had given rise to. But in the northeast, the BJP is virtually a new entity with the exception of its involvement in Nagaland. And there, because the expectations are still new and fresh, the BJP is viewed differently. The disenchantment that affects the BJP in mainland India, if I can use that term, doesn't apply to the northeast.
But we should not actually look at the 3 states as one state, the Meghalaya, Nagaland and Tripura. I think this would apply mainly to Tripura, because Tripura is a state where we actually saw writings on the wall was very clear. People wanted a change, but this was not visible in Meghalaya, neither in Nagaland to a great extent. Nagaland, yes, BJP is now will be in power in alliance with its ally, but We don't get that sense from Nagaland,
But the
definitely not in Meghalaya.
But the disenchantment that has shadowed the BJP and cast a sort of shadow over it in mainland India doesn't apply in the northeast. That is clearly the case.
Absolutely, that's clearly the case.
And that's because it's perceived as new and different.
New and different, yes.
Let me come to Tripura in a moment's time. I'll park that for a moment. I want to stick with the general implications for a while longer. Two of the states where the BJP is about to form a government, Meghalaya, where it's formed a government, in fact, today, Tuesday, and Nagaland, where it will be forming a government in a day or two's time, are Christian majority states. In fact, they are states where beef is a major element of people's eating habit. Now, in mainland India, the BJP is perceived as a party associated with cow vigilantes, with beef bans, and with a certain attitude, perhaps even prejudice towards the church. And those are significant issues in mainland India, yet they don't seem to have been obstacles in either Meghalaya or Nagaland. Why?
No, there were obstacles in Meghalaya. The Hindutva politics of BJP has caught up with it in Meghalaya, and that is why it couldn't even better its best show, which was 3
Which is why
seats.
that small party, the HSDP,
Yes.
actually wants a government without the BJP at all.
Yes.
It's a reflection of the fact that they
Absolutely.
sense the BJP is not secular.
And also, I want to remind you, this is not a BJP government in Meghalaya. This is an NPP-led government. NPP is a part of the BJP's NEDA alliance, but is not completely even a NEDA government.
What you're saying is completely true of Meghalaya, but what about Nagaland, where the BJP contested something like 15 seats, 20 seats, and won 12 of them? And in fact, you've heard Mr. Ram Madhav say that the effective vote share is pretty close to 50-60%, even though the actual vote share is less. But if you calculate it state-wise, it goes up. So why in Nagaland did the BJP do so well when it is a party that has a certain animosity towards the church, towards beef eating, where it's associated with cow vigilantes? How did it overcome that?
Two reasons. One, of course, all this, you have to see where all these MLAs are coming from. They are not hardcore BJP people. They are all MLAs being brought in from different parties and looking at winnability in mind. And so they have delivered results.
So people saw the MLA and his or her character, not the BJP party behind him.
Yes, and the other reason is also Nagaland elections, say Nagaland and Arunachal elections are fought largely on, money power is very big. People's roles is very little.
But you're saying a very interesting thing.
I
You're
wanted
saying
to add, Karan, on that about what difference do we find between verdict in Nagaland and Tripura. In Tripura, while it was a vote for the party, actually people voted for BJP as such.
Yes.
In Nagaland, it is a vote for candidate, and this comes out very, very clearly from our studies. 60% of the voters in Nagaland said they voted for the party, which is the other way around in Tripura. In Tripura, 60% said that we are voting for the party, and this is the trend all over the country. But Nagaland, it is a vote for the candidate.
You're making a very important distinction. I'm just clarifying it for the audience. You're saying that whereas in Tripura it is a victory of the BJP, the party, in Nagaland it is individual candidates who attracted votes, not the BJP. It's a victory for candidates. It's not really in a one-to-one sense a victory for the party.
Absolutely,
Yes,
absolutely. This comes out very clearly from the studies. We ask a question in our studies whether you voted for a party or for the candidate. And clearly 60-70% voters in Nagaland, and this applies to Meghalaya as well. People said that we voted for the candidate, not for the party.
And in Meghalaya, in fact, in particular, where the BJP only won 2 seats, the truth is that, in fact, its image was well understood and known, and that was an obstacle for the BJP. It's not that it was overcome, it was an obstacle that brought the BJP's prospects down.
Yes, absolutely, because see, it got these 10 MLAs from different parties, keeping again winnability in mind, but most of them couldn't deliver because of this Hindutva reputation of the BJP.
This is interesting. Unlike Nagaland, where the party and the candidate were considered separately and different, in Meghalaya, the candidate was identified with the party, which is why most of their candidates, most BJP candidates, couldn't win.
Yes.
Let's come to the Congress, because in contrast, the Congress has been almost wiped out in Tripura and Nagaland. Its vote share has fallen fairly significantly in Meghalaya, and not so long ago, it lost power in Assam, in Arunachal Pradesh, and in Manipur. Is the Congress, Sanjay Kumar, in danger of getting marginalized in the northeast in the way it's been marginalized in states like UP, Bihar, Bengal, Odisha, Tamil Nadu?
Why do you say the Congress is in danger of losing power in northeast or getting marginalized?
It's happened.
It has already happened. They are not. See, if you are a ruling party winning and losing elections are part of the game, but you don't come down from 35% votes to 2% votes.
You're talking of Tripura in particular.
Tripura, Nagaland, 0 seats. So it's not only getting defeated, they are actually getting wiped out. So this is a big danger for Congress in the Northeast, and this is actually happening in the mainland states as well. Look at Jharkhand, Haryana and many other states. The Congress has not only lost power, they have actually gone down to number 3, number 4. Very difficult for Congress to revive from that.
So what is happening to Congress in Hindi heartland states? We've seen it losing votes severely in Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat in the 2014 elections, although some of the recent elections have suggested different outcomes. That is also happening in the Northeast. It is losing ground as it is in the mainland area, is losing ground similarly in the Northeast.
I think whatever vote share Congress still has in the Hindi heartland, and we talked about states where there is a bi-party contest between BJP and Congress. We talked about, say, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Gujarat. If there is a new entry of a new political party, I think Congress vote share will get wiped out in these states as well. Congress is only
just like Tripura.
Just like Tripura and many other states.
You mentioned Tripura, and in fact, the collapse in the Congress vote share is so stark, it's almost worrying. It's fallen from 36% to under 2%. Now, writing in the Indian Express on on Monday, Ram Madhav, the General Secretary of the BJP, said that Congress lacked the courage and the conviction to play the role of a proper opposition, which is why he claims it suffered. Others, in writing in other papers, have said that in fact the problem is that increasingly from 1993 onwards, Congress has been dependent on support in one sense or another from the CPM, and as a result it's deliberately chosen to draw in its horns in Tripura, which means that when there was a vote against the CPM, the anti-left vote went all the way across to the BJP, ignoring Congress completely. In fact, Congress's own vote drained out as well. Do you accept those analysis? Is this what's gone wrong for Congress in Tripura?
No, absolutely. What you said are all the factors which actually resulted into Congress going down from 36% to 2%. Congress never put up a fight in Tripura, actually vacated the entire space to BJP. And that is why I think look at all the 8 or 10 MLAs which Congress had, they all shifted to BJP. Most of them contested on the BJP ticket. And in the mind of the voters,
I believe most of BJP's candidates were in fact former Congress people.
Former Congress
even
people.
Even their cadres.
In the mind of the voters, it was very, very clear, and this comes out from our studies. They saw BJP as the main contestant. No one, only 2 or 3% voters actually saw Congress as a party which is putting up a challenge to left. Everybody thought, 80% of the voters said it is the BJP which is putting up a challenge to the left. So in such a scenario, it was natural for a huge majority of voters voting against the left to go for to vote for BJP.
Congress's behavior suggested that if you wanted to vote against the left, it was pointless voting for Congress. It only made sense if you voted for the BJP.
Only 2-3% of the voters in Tripura actually saw Congress in the contest. So nobody would want to vote for a losing party.
Sangeeta, what about the CPM? With the exception of 5 years, 1988 to 1993, it's been in Tripura unbroken from 1978. Yes. Now, after losing Bengal 7 years ago, it's lost Tripura, and the only state in which it remains relevant is Kerala, and that's a state where governments tend to change with every election. Are we in danger of seeing the CPM literally fizzle out as a powerful force in Indian politics?
Of course, I see that, particularly keeping Tripura in mind. I'll just give you a small example. I was in Tripura covering the elections, and when you see what was happening in the BJP, their office and everywhere, there's so much energy, so much action. But when you go to the left office, you see that there is some kind of this lethargy, which I thought that was it's a main problem.
That's the problem in Tripura. But when you look at the CPM after Tripura nationwide, and you see that it's only left with one little bastion, Kerala, which could lose in the next elections, do you get the feeling that the CPM is in danger of ceasing to be a powerful force in pan-Indian politics?
I don't see that, because it has to address. Because I see that that it has to address the aspirational level, the aspirations of the people and the youth.
They are not doing.
They are not doing.
So, and if they continue not to do it, then will it cease to be a powerful force in pan-Indian politics?
It will. Yes, it will.
So this is a make or break moment.
This is a make or break moment. It'll have to think about it. And I'd like to add one more thing about the Congress in the Northeast, which you said, is that Congress has always been coming and going, giving the power to regional players and sometimes not. Particularly if you see the Assam agitation time, nobody would want Congress back, okay? But it again came back and ruled for 15 years. But you always see that, there is a vote share there. But what the danger now with BJP entering is that entire vote share is in the Congress is in the danger of losing. So it is a bigger challenge for Congress and then what it was.
You're saying a very interesting thing. The reason why it may not be able to recreate itself in the Northeast is because the BJP has crept in and taken its place. Earlier, when Congress was defeated, it was to regional parties. This time, it's losing to the BJP.
To the national
And the BJP may not behave the way regional parties have. It may not give way in 5 years to Congress again.
Yes. Because in the Northeast, the regional parties kept changing shapes, taking different shapes. So when regional parties kept changing shapes, then people used to come back to Congress. But
that
now,
won't happen with the BJP.
Now that won't happen because BJP is going to be a stable party there.
In which case, let me ask you this, Sanjay Kumar. To what extent is the support the BJP has got a vote for development rather than a vote just for political change? And is that particularly true of Tripura? Because there you had astonishing levels of unemployment, averaging, I believe, something like 19.7%, the highest in all of India. And that was also a state where the CPM was viewed either as an out-of-date party or even sometimes as an anti-modern party. So do you believe that in the Northeast what we've seen is a vote for just political change, or is it a vote for development as well?
I would say specifically about Tripura, I think it is a mix of both. It is a very big, very large aspirational vote. Youths and the people of Tripura has a huge aspiration, and they saw that BJP is a party which may be able to fulfill the aspiration, and it is the BJP which actually aroused the aspirations of the people. It is a vote for development, both in Nagaland, in Tripura, not that much in Meghalaya, because if we look at the people's perception about how the government has performed in Meghalaya, they are not very unhappy with the performance of the government. Yes, one issue which cuts across all the three states is the issue of corruption. In all the states, people believe that corruption was on the rise. So it is a vote for development. It is a vote of aspiration.
In fact, you and your organization CSDS along with Lokniti have done a very interesting series of surveys of Tripura in particular. And one of the results, or one of the analyses of the results that is particularly striking this connection, is that you've discovered that something like 41% of people in Tripura actually made up their mind how they would vote after the campaign started. And of that number, 68% chose to vote for the BJP. They were, I take it, responding to this aspirational message the BJP was putting out.
It's a very different findings of the question which you are referring to. Normally in any state, when we ask this question, when did you make up your mind to vote? Normally 20-25% voter would say they have made up their mind in the last couple of days. These are the floating voters. In Tripura, there were very less floating voters, only 4 or 5%. Almost half of them made up their mind much before campaign started, 40-45%, and these 40-45% made up their mind soon after campaign started. And look at the stark difference. All those who made up their mind before campaign started, huge majority of them voted for the left, and all those who made up the mind, the figures you quoted, 45-47%, they tilted in a big way in favor of BJP. And so people had made up their mind. It was a very polarized election.
They were responding to the BJP's aspirational message.
Naturally, the 40% who made up their mind before campaign, they were the staunch left supporters, and those who made up their mind soon after the campaign, because soon after the campaign they saw BJP as a real force in the state. They were looking for a change. Congress was not able to provide that platform. When they saw a possibility that a change could come, BJP can upset this equation, so they actually voted for BJP.
And here the BJP gets credit for pitching the message right. It sensed there was a moment for people to be aspirational and break away. It gave them that message, and those people flocked to it.
Absolutely. I think for a very long time people were thinking of a change, people were aspiring for a change, but Congress never provided that platform. BJP provided that platform. I think the ground was already there. What BJP managed to do was to reap the harvest very well.
And very effectively.
Yes.
Sangeeta, writing in the Hindustan Times yesterday, that is to say Monday, Prashant Jha says that something else lies behind the BJP's appeal in terms of what he calls in his article Vikas. He says, and I'm quoting him, in specific terms, This meant more connectivity with the mainland. It meant bringing the opportunities of the mainland to the northeast. And he concludes by saying, this was a promise of integrating a region that felt it had been neglected, where there is a strong sense of alienation. Do you go with that wider interpretation as well?
I agree and disagree both. Why agree? Because when he says that, that people have felt being left out, yes, that is very much there. Okay, and BJP has caught that very well, and it's working on it. But why I don't agree with it completely is that the model that the BJP is taking there, say for example, Advantage Assam, that what we saw, taking all the big players, Ambani and all the big main players, they're taking them to there to do business. But that itself is not taken in very right, not in a very nice manner by the local people. Because
people don't welcome it.
Yes, because people feel that that their biggest problem is that they have never been able to have the control over their resources. So it has always
and now they're in danger of losing
yes,
it to
and
businessmen from India.
To the far bigger forces.
This is a very interesting discussion we're having on this particular point. Do you accept Prashant Jha's wider point that behind the BJP's appeal of Vikas was also an integrative response, an attempt to try and cater for an area that felt it had been neglected, an attempt to cater for an area that felt alienated? Or do you feel that actually many people were scared that the BJP could lead to them losing their specific, special identity, which is so much a conscious part of their way of perceiving themselves? Which of the two? Were they in danger of losing their identity, or were they actually being enveloped into a wider whole?
No, I think BJP wanted to give out this message loud and clear that if you vote for BJP, if BJP manages to form the government in these states, you will have a chance for better integration with the mainland India. I think people in Tripura specifically had borrowed this sense much more than what we saw in Nagaland or in Meghalaya, because large majority of voters believe that it is important for us, it is important for the state to have a government of the party which is ruling at the center. If that happens, state would be in a beneficial situation. I think this message.
So they wanted to be connected to the mainland more.
Yes,
they didn't fear losing their identity or being subsumed in a bigger whole.
I don't get any sense of this kind, that people feared that if BJP comes to this state, they would be losing their, all kinds of different identities.
Let me then quote you something else that Ram Madhav, the General Secretary of the BJP, wrote in the Indian Express on Monday. And he's talking specifically about Tripura. He says, politics in Tripura needs to be experienced. It cannot be simply described. Violence, intimidation, and an atmosphere of threat and oppression pervade the state. Is he right? And is that one reason why the BJP and its allies got 2/3 of the seats, and why the BJP alone in its vote share jumped from under 2% to 43%, that in fact there was this atmosphere that you need to experience to understand? Journalists who simply visit can't describe it adequately for you.
All the factors which Ram Madhav mentioned to some extent was visible, or it was present in Tripura. Maybe when Ram Madhav would like to say this, he would say it in an exaggerated form, but all this were visible. We saw this from our studies, that people were unhappy about corruption, people were unhappy about safety, security situations. So all these situations were present, and this is why we saw the kind of result which which people actually had in Tripura.
In contrast to Ram Madhav, Mamata Banerjee has said publicly, and perhaps even repeatedly, that if Rahul Gandhi had allied with the TMC as she wanted, and also with some of the smaller hill parties, you would have had a very different result in Tripura. Do you buy that?
I would believe that it's a huge opportunity loss for Congress. It would have actually been able to go alone and would have made a big difference, because this anti-incumbency that you see in Tripura, it has been there for a long time, which actually BJP very smartly worked on and got results.
So an alliance with the TMC and the hill parties could have established the Congress as a credible alternative.
Yes.
Without that alliance, Congress lacked credibility, and therefore those who wanted to vote against the left had only one choice, the BJP.
Yes, because see, in 2008, Congress did try to bring in a change by allying with another tribal party, INPT, but it didn't get the required support from the central leadership, because it has always had a good relationship or a workable relationship with the left at the center, and which was not the case in Tripura on the ground. So they had a street fight there. So that perhaps is also looked at by people as that Congress has left them in the lurch.
I doubt if Congress had formed an alliance with TMC or some smaller hills party, they would have been seen as a viable alternative. Actually, BJP.
So you disagree with Mamta's logic, and you disagree with Sangeeta as well?
I disagree because BJP had made headways in Tripura much before. In a sense, they have been working hard in the state for the last 2 years.
Can I put a devil's advocate point to you? Writing in the wire.in, MK Venu, one of its editors, has said that the BJP and the CPM actually ended up with the vote share very similar to each other, roughly around 42-43%. The difference was the BJP had the tribal parties' vote share on top of that of another 8%, whereas the left didn't have that additional 8%. Now, if Congress had actually provided a credible base, that might have been sufficient, along with the left, for the left to do much better. It's because there was no Congress base to help the left shrank from roughly what it was to 16. Do you buy that?
See, first a correction. BJP's vote share, we are looking at BJP's vote share at 43-44%, but that is not the BJP's vote share in the seats contested. We should remember that BJP contested only 40 seats and 20 seats they had given to the allies, but CPM had contested much larger number of seats. So 44% votes for BJP definitely translated into larger number of seats compared to more or less similar vote share.
Because it was contained within a smaller number
of seats.
Does that therefore mean that the logic that a better allied Congress, perhaps along the lines that Mamta has suggested, would have helped the CPM, that logic you're saying doesn't work?
I think if there was an alliance, if there was a three-way contest, it would have helped CPM. They would have been in a position to again come back to power, maybe with a very small, with reduced majority, because then, because you see what has happened, the entire Congress support base has shifted to BJP. That would have not happened. Congress would have been able to retain at least half of the support base. So that would have a division of anti-left vote between BJP and Congress would have definitely helped the left to retain the power in Tripura once again.
Let me put another one of the findings of your very interesting survey in Tripura to you. You say that the majority of voters under 45 voted for the BJP, the majority of voters over 45 voted for the left, and that I can understand. But what I can't quite understand is you go on also to discover that men played a far bigger role in BJP's victory than women. Why this gender difference?
Why this is a gender difference? Very difficult to imagine why, but I imagine you mentioned that cut point 45. If you actually look at between 19 and 25, and this age group of voters, people keep referring to as the first time voters, and we can say these are the young voters. If you look at the trend of these young voters in all the three states, they have actually gone along with BJP, even in Nagaland, and in a big way.
Because these are young people looking for jobs and not finding them?
Naturally, these are the young people who are looking for better opportunities for job, better opportunities for education.
Unemployment hits men worse than it hits young girls, because they don't look for jobs in the same way, in the same
That
number.
may be one of the reasons why we see more men voting for BJP in Tripura compared to women.
Would you accept that logic? Because the point he's trying to explain is this strange factor that their survey has discovered that men played a bigger role in BJP's victory in Tripura than women. But would you accept his explanation that it's to do with the fact that young men suffer from unemployment much more than young women, because young women don't look for jobs in the same way?
See, in Tripura particularly, this is an issue among particularly the young men, So because the best job that they can get after getting themselves educated is that of a teacher, and that is also in a government establishment. So obviously, when you see the other part of India growing and in a very technologically connected world, so obviously you have these aspirations, and that I feel that BJP has been able to respond come to that.
But these aspirations apply more to men than they do to women, which is why men play the bigger role in the BJP victory.
I feel so. I agree with him, because see, when you see the manifesto of BJP in Tripura, it talks about giving away, say, smartphones to each youth, things like that. I mean, like, where do you see that kind of a
But why would
manifesto?
young women not be attracted by that promise as much as young men?
To youth, it says to youth. So it could
But
be
men
young
seem
women
to have
also.
responded more.
Yeah, so
unemployment was a big problem in Tripura.
Huge
We have
issue.
to accept it. And as you rightly said, when it comes to employment, the aspiration of getting an employment is more among the young men, because some young girls get married and they don't aspire for
Could be that,
entering
yes.
into the job market. So that explains
It's
why
the basic necessities of existence that drove the fact that young men tended to vote much more disproportionately for the BJP than perhaps young women.
And BJP has been an attraction for the young voters all over the country. It is not only specific about Tripura. We can see this happening in other states. And if we actually look at the disaggregates carefully between young men and women, we might find this trend in many
Elsewhere
other
as
states.
well.
Yes.
That's very interesting. Let's pull out at this point and try and end with a sort of big picture look at what message these three states and their election outcomes sends to the rest of India. Clearly, these three states have constituted a game changer for the Northeast. But what sort of influence will they have, for instance, on eastern states like West Bengal and Odisha, which are very close to their vicinity? Will they have a major influence, or are they unlikely to do so?
My own sense is that BJP is making a big headway in West Bengal, and my own sense is that you will see BJP forming the next government in Odisha. It's making huge impact.
You mean
Even
to say in 2019, Naveen Patnaik, who in 2014 got his biggest majority ever, both at the Vidhan Sabha level and the Lok Sabha level, could actually be thrown out by the BJP?
I can see that happening in Odisha very, very clearly, and in West Bengal, BJP is going to be definitely number 2 party in West Bengal.
So the impact of the results that we've seen in the Northeast will be hugely felt in these two eastern states, West Bengal and Odisha.
Even before the results of Tripura were announced, this has already started happening in West Bengal and in Odisha.
Now it will be strengthened.
This would be strengthened.
What about, what for many I suppose is the key question, what sort of influence and impact will the Northeast results have on, say, Karnataka, which goes to the polls in April, or further down the road, if you look at December, the three critical states of Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh? Do you see the momentum that the BJP has built up in the Northeast helping it in these states, or is that unlikely?
See, in terms of keeping motivating the cadres, of course, because they are motivated also in a way. Like when I spoke to a lot of these senior BJP leaders, say for instance Sunil Deodhar, the man in charge there, he told me very clearly that every little win of BJP was actually passed on to the cadres. That it is a kind of a
I accept that the cadres will be hugely motivated. What impact will it have on the voters? The voters of, say, Karnataka, and then further down the road, the voters of Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh. Will they be influenced, or are they so far away, geographically, regionally, linguistically, even in culinary terms, that the impact will be minimal?
See, the thing is that BJP is very clear about certain things. One is that they know that in certain states where they have been ruling for some time, there is going to be strong anti-incumbency factor. So they have to go to the greener pastures, which is of course Northeast and other places. So they're investing in those areas,
Which
and with the
suggests to
promise
me that the impact of the Northeast on Karnataka and then further down the road, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, will be minimal.
Yes.
Would you agree? Minimal impact?
See, it gives a boost to the workers. It also gives little bit of boost to the voters as well. Voters start looking at a party which has the future, and if they see,
They like a winner.
they like the winner. That's the basic element in the voter, that
So the
people
more
don't
the
want to vote for the losing party.
The more the BJP looks as if it's winning, the more appealing it becomes for the voter, and that helps overcome some measure, not all of it, but some measure of anti-incumbency.
I think BJP is better placed to win Karnataka, even though Congress is in power in Karnataka, because in Karnataka Congress would be at a receiving end. BJP would be attacking the government and Congress would have to respond. Congress still has a chance in the other 3 states, which goes to poll in November.
Because there the BJP is on the back foot.
Back foot.
What about the nationwide image of Narendra Modi? Most people have come to the conclusion that the Gujarat state elections, the Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh by-elections, perhaps the Nirav Modi scandal, perhaps even general governance and failure to deliver on promises has taken some of the shine off. To what extent has the luster been restored by the Northeast?
I don't think it has been restored. There is a slight decline in the popularity of Narendra Modi if we go by the CSDS poll which we did in the month of January. Between last year in the month of May till January, there is a decline of 6-7%, but he still remains far more popular compared to any other leader.
That's because he's also got the advantage of incumbency. He is the sitting Prime Minister.
Yeah, he's the sitting Prime Minister. That happens with any chief minister or any prime minister. But the gap between Rahul Gandhi and Modi is still, the double. Almost Rahul Gandhi is liked by 20% of the voters, Modi is still liked by 37-38% voters. So the gap is still very wide.
But isn't that also true of most democracies where the leader of the opposition has this disadvantage? He's not perceived as being the leader, which is why when people ask who's the best prime minister, they usually tend to go with the person in power.
No, I absolutely agree that you go and ask this kind of you do a survey of this kind in any state, any country, the sitting prime minister or the sitting chief minister has always had an advantage. He is seen as more popular compared to any other
how much
leader.
More will the Northeast result burnish the Modi image, or is that going to be very minimal?
I think it's going to be very minimal. It is not going to have much. It might be able to hold on to the declining popularity. That's the only impact it's going to have.
In other words, the decline may be checked.
Yes.
Right? But it won't actually build up.
I don't think it's going to build up.
One other question to you, Sangeeta. Most people had come to the conclusion before the Northeast elections that Mr. Modi simply cannot win as many seats in 2019 compared to 2014 in states like Rajasthan, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, UP, Bihar. You could even include Haryana, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand. Has that been checked or changed by the momentum generated in the Northeast? Or would you say that the number of seats for the Lok Sabha in the Northeast are so small, there are around about 25, 26, that it simply cannot help make up the deficit of what he will lose elsewhere?
See, I don't think winning these elections will greatly impact, say, their show in, say, Rajasthan, Haryana, Madhya Pradesh, and other places. But it's also a part of the. You have to understand how BJP works. Okay, so it is like they know that they are going to face a lot of anti-incumbency there. So they are, as I said, they are going to the greener areas where they can work out. Like, say, in Rajasthan, there are 25 seats. But if they can manage to get, say, about 20 seats from across Northeast, which is, by the way, their plan. I mean, they're working on it with Himanta Biswa Sarma and Ravi Shankar Prasad. So, that's the thing they are working on. So, if they can make up for that, I mean, it well works out.
This is the critical point. There are 25, 26 seats in the Northeast. Sangeeta is saying that even if the BJP can win 20 of those 25, 26 in 2019, it will make up for 20 seats that it will lose in states like, say, Gujarat and Rajasthan, where last time round in 2014, it won all the seats.
Yeah.
But in fact, the quantum of seats that the BJP could stand to lose is much greater than 2025.
I think we would be making a mistake if we tend to believe that BJP would definitely lose a large number of seats in, say, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat or Chhattisgarh. I think we are making a mistake. Yes, there is a possibility that BJP will lose some seats in Rajasthan, Gujarat, maybe Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, but not to the extent of reducing the tally of BJP to a great extent. So I don't believe the old narrative that BJP has already peaked and the party has to go down. I don't think this is working for BJP. When BJP won handsome majority in Lok Sabha in UP, everybody thought that they can't repeat the same kind of a performance during the assembly election. BJP managed to do that. And
so
they have done it in
that,
several
for instance,
states.
comments in the papers like the Economic Times today, Tuesday, that in fact the BJP could lose as many as 100 Lok Sabha seats in 2019 are exaggerated. That sort of danger is
hugely exaggerated.
Hugely exaggerated.
Yes.
And therefore you're also saying, as a corollary, that the gains it's making in the Northeast of 20, 21, 22 seats could actually be sufficient to keep it within that or within close range of that critical 272 number.
I think they would still be in the critical range. It could be 260, 252, 255, but I don't see them going down to 220 or 210.
One other question then. Today, one of the things that's being talked about in the newspapers and certainly on television is the fact that Mayawati and Akhilesh Yadav have decided to forge an understanding, they don't call it an alliance, to support each other in Gorakhpur and Phulpur. Do you believe that is a genuine threat for the BJP, or do you think it's something that newspapers and the opposition is talking up?
I don't see as a genuine threat to BJP, because we should not forget that BJP has managed to win elections in many states, the Lok Sabha election, with more than 50% votes. And in other states also, like in UP, where BJP had faced a multi-cornered contest, even in these states, state like UP, BJP managed to get roughly 44% vote. Even if all the three opposition parties in UP, in a state like UP, Congress, BSP and SP come together, we should not assume that all the votes of the three parties will come together and give a jolt to BJP. Yes, they will put a stiffer challenge to BJP, but I don't see BJP getting defeated even if the three parties come together.
Does this apply to Phulpur as well? Most people say that in Gorakhpur, because Yogi Adityanath comes from there, Gorakhpur is safe. So, but what about Phulpur?
Very difficult to comment on one constituency what might happen in Phulpur, but if I have to put my money, I would put my money on BJP. BJP is not going to lose either Phulpur or Gorakhpur.
In which case, my last question, Sangeeta, you've also heard recently the Chief Minister of Telangana talking about forging a non-Congress, non-BJP third front. Mamata Banerjee seems to have lent her support to it, and there's a possibility that others like Ajit Jogi and MK Stalin, perhaps even the Shiv Sena, might be supportive of it, if you can take what you read in the papers literally. Do you think this is a credible strategy in the present circumstances for the opposition, or are they just playing with hopes and nothing more?
What I see right now is a lot of talking and no action. You have to see it on the ground, how it's going to roll out, and what steps have been already taken. But what you see in the contrast in terms of BJP is that it's a very hard-working party. It doesn't sit still. It works on the ground. So, and that is how it's getting results. Say in Tripura, where I was saying that it could be Congress could have been able to get it, but why it couldn't? Because it worked for 2.5 years.
So what does that mean? So what does that mean for the Telangana Chief Minister's hopes of a non-BJP, non-Congress third front? Are you saying that until he shows results on the ground,
yes,
this is just rhetoric and nothing more?
Yes, this is exactly that.
Would you accept that this is more hope and rhetoric rather than reality?
Yeah, if you see what happens in cricket, you have a strategy in the dressing room, then you do the net practice, and then you finally come out on the ground to play the match. I think it is still the discussion going on.
But the problem is, despite all that net practice and the strategy, you can still be bowled out on the first ball.
Yes, that's the danger. But still, the problem is that the discussion is still in the dressing room. They have still not, we could say Phulpur and Gorakhpur is a net practice, but see how it goes.
So you're saying that the credibility of the talk of creating a non-BJP, non-Congress third front will hinge a lot on what happens in Phulpur and Gorakhpur?
I think this is going to be a decider in a sense. If BJP manages to still pull the elections in Gorakhpur and Phulpur, coming together of the opposition will be kind of there would be a big question
mark.
But
if BJP loses Phulpur?
If BJP loses both the seats, I think there will be a jubilation among the opposition, and the movement or the talks with regard to coming together would become much faster. We don't still know whether they will all become able to come together.
All right, let's leave it there. We have a lot to wait and look out for in the remaining days of March, because those results they're talking about will come out just about in 2 weeks' time. My thanks to both of you for joining me.